What is good, everybody? Juliana Page here, and I want to walk you through a message that I feel like is really empowering, particularly at a time when you feel like maybe things don't line up or match your faith, or maybe you feel like circumstances don't mirror the conviction that you feel in your spirit, or maybe you've just come across some challenges or some outside pressure that is attempting to, although it won't, get you distracted or get you discouraged in some kind of way. So this is a faith building word, but essentially what it is the 14 blessings that are promised to lovers and followers of Jesus. So not just everybody, but those that are lovers and followers of Jesus. And you know if that's you. But this is the comfort, the security, the inspiration that you can have, particularly in times where you feel tempted to waver. Okay. So I'm going to read from the Message version, but I'm going to pick nuggets that are the 14 blessings so that you can apply them to your life. And this is a good one to take notes on so that you can resort to it again later, or even put them on index cards too, so you can constantly be reminded of it. So this is Psalm 23. It's a popular psalm, but I don't know that it's often broken down this way, and I just find it so powerful. So verses 1-3. God, my shepherd, I don't need a thing. You have bedded me down in lush meadows. You find me quiet pools to drink from. True to your word, you let me catch my breath and send me in the right direction. Whew. So good. So first and foremost, the visual of a shepherd with the sheep, I think, is a powerful one. So when you think about the sheep, right? They don't fear, they don't question, they do go astray. But they don't really have to worry. Everything's provided for them. So when you picture a shepherd, right? He's got the rod, the staff, protection, food, provision, all of the goodness, anything that a sheep would ever need, the shepherd provides. So God, my shepherd, is a very powerful term. I don't need a thing. So keep that in mind. You're not in a position of wanting or lack. He's bedded me down in lush meadows. So you're not like out in a desert panting and like trying to find food. Like you're just chilling in a lush meadow. It's also known as a green pasture. You find me quiet pools to drink from. So there's just like this rest, this refreshing, this renewal that happens. And this is often speaking to of like an inner soul refreshing, not just like a nap on the couch. True to your word, you let me catch my breath and send me in the right direction. So he guides and establishes our steps. So just from 3 verses, and again, this is the Message version. There's many different versions. I happen to like the Message a lot. I am a King James girl. I also like Amplified, but find the one that works for you and that speaks to your spirit. So number 1, the Lord, the blessing, first blessing is the Lord is your shepherd, meaning you never walk this life alone. You're never left to your own understanding or your own resources or capabilities, unless you choose that. But the Lord is your shepherd, so you're never alone. He's with you through and in all things. Number 2 is he covers you. So you're not going to have to want or to hustle or to search after or to really strive for things. He'll cover you. So good, right? And then number 3, you'll rest in green pastures. So you're not really just, out on your own striving, right? And just trying to make your own way in the world and just achieving and pushing and hustling and all these things that a lot of times the world culture reinforces. God gives you a different kind of rest, okay? And then he gives, number 4, he gives guidance to deep still water. So he brings you to a place of rest. So when we're in rest, when we're not agitated, when we're not frustrated, when we're not stressed out, when we're not overwhelmed or emotionally distraught, we're able to make wise and sound decisions. We're able to hear clear counsel from God, and we're able to walk in that alignment. Because we finally, it's almost like you get a tune-up, is a great way to say that. Okay. So those are 1 through 4. 1, the Lord is your shepherd, so you're never alone. 2, he covers you so that you shall not want or be begging for anything. You'll be the lender, not the borrower, is another way to say that. 3, you'll rest in green pastures. So you're not just going to, again, be like in a desert or some crummy area. He'll give you a solid place of promise to be able to rest. And then you'll be able to receive, this is number 4, you'll be able to receive guidance while you're resting. Okay. 4 through 6. Even when the way goes through Death Valley, so even though I walk through the shadow of death, right? I'm not afraid. When you walk at my side, your trusty shepherd's crook makes me feel secure. You serve me a 6-course dinner right in front of my enemies. You prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemies. You revive my drooping head. My cup brims with blessing. Your beauty and love chase after me every day of my life. I'm back home in the house of God for the rest of my life. Huh! Okay. So when we go into these, what you're getting with you let me catch my breath and send me in the right direction. So that's 5, restoration of soul. And your soul is your mind, your will, and your emotion. So as you're being led by God, covered by God, taken to these green pastures where you can rest and receive guidance, your soul is also being restored. So you're being restored, I like to say, to manufacturer settings, okay? So it's almost like a upgrade on an iPhone. Number 6, guidance in the path of right. So he sends you in the right direction, meaning less mistakes, less circling the mountain, more of the same patterns of the past, like a break of generational curses. There's just like strategic encounters with God, divine setups, so many different things that happen that when left to your own devices, when left to your own understanding and common sense, you did not navigate that way. Right. 7 is safe passage. So even though you go through Death Valley, as it said here, you don't need to be afraid because God is at your side. No fear of evil is number 8. So there's constant companionship with God, and that's the greatest security that you can have in life. And his trusty shepherd's crook makes me feel secure. So what's going on with that is there, number 9 is comfort. So God chastises those he loves. So there's correction with guidance, which is really, really good because we need to be, it's almost like that game Operation. I don't know if you remember that, where you're like picking pieces out of this guy, and if you like hit the edge, it like buzzes. So it's kind of like that. We need to be like Buzz to get back on path sometimes. And we need to be led and guided because there's just some things that left to our own understanding we couldn't figure out. All right. So then he prepares, this is number 10, prepares a full course meal in the presence of your enemies. So he will promote you publicly. So the very people that were out to shame you, cause you harm, just genuinely be wicked towards you, they will see you be blessed publicly. 11, head anointed with perfumed oil, so promotion in a public way. 12, cup running over, so my cup brims with blessing, so there's no struggle, there's no lack. At some point you hit this overflow, and that's a constant for you. 13 is confidence, so this goodness and mercy, it says here, your beauty and love chase after me every day of my life. So goodness and mercy will always follow you. It's consistent. It's not like man. It's not like people that you might have experienced where sometimes they like you, sometimes they don't, where it's really moody, where they say one thing but do another. God is consistent. He's not inconsistent in any kind of way unless you create that distance. And then lastly, number 14, eternal salvation, everlasting life. This is an assurance that you have that God will be with you. You can be in the house of God for the rest of your life. So I'll walk you through a different version just so you can hear it a different way, because maybe that'll resonate with you. So this is King James, which is probably the version that you're most familiar with. So I'll go through with this and then take you back through these again. So the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Okay, so let's just do that. That's Psalm 23, King James Version, verse 1 through 3 so far. So number 1, blessing for the sheep, for the lovers and followers of Jesus. Number 1 is the Lord is your shepherd. So you're never alone. You don't have to navigate life alone. You don't have to figure things out on your own. You don't have to just like fake it till you make it, or just basically count on yourself and your ego. You can humble yourself and just truly be moved that God is with you. God is for you. Never will he leave you. Never will he forsake you. Number 1. Number 2 is that I shall not want. So he covers you. So whatever you would have need of, whether it's a season in the world of lack, whether it's a season of chaos and dysfunction, whatever happens to be, whatever is going on around you, as a child of God, that will not affect you. That does not apply to you. You shall not want. God will provide for all of your needs so that you're not in a position of wanting and desperation. Number 3 is he maketh me to lie down in green pastures. So again, picture that. This is a lush green pasture. There's a cooling effect to that. There's fresh air. There's just this overwhelming sense of peace and refreshing and revival that is happening in that atmosphere. So he's bringing that to you. And so with that one, you're not out there on your own. God will lead you to a place that will truly be pleasant and peaceful for you, so that you can, this next one, he leadeth me beside still waters, so that you can receive guidance and go out into the deep with God and just be able to find that rest in your soul, this deep supernatural peace that surpasses all understanding, where your mind is not constantly trying to figure things out, as I say, future tripping and caught up in anxiety and everything that might happen or everything that you haven't done yet. Your heart is not, in this place of overwhelm and overload. Your spirit is not fearful and unbelief and doubt and insecurity or anything like that. God is just literally giving you this place to rest, so that he can guide you, basically. Okay, so that's 1 through 4 so far. So the Lord is your shepherd. He covers you. You can rest in green pastures and receive guidance by the still waters, where you can just truly rest. And then number 5 is he restores my soul. So he restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. So restoration of soul is, again, your mind, your will, and your emotions. So God basically, as I was saying a minute ago, gives you a reboot where you're able to think with the mind of Christ. You're able to literally cast down and out every thought that's exalted itself above the truth. You're not ruminating on things. You're not replaying bad memories or vain imaginations. You're just thinking with the mind of Christ, and you have a spirit of power, love, and sound mind renewed in you, where you're not in a spirit of fear, you're not in a spirit of doubt, you're not in a spirit of insecurity, you're not in a spirit of evil or wickedness in any way. And your heart is just purified. So your heart is whole, it's complete, nothing missing, nothing broken. Okay, so there's not unforgiveness, there's not bitterness. He literally knows exactly what you need to restore your soul. So he'll allow a healing process to overtake you. And then he leadeth me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. So 5 was restoration of soul. 6 is guidance in the paths of right. So less mistakes, less errors, less needing to be tested and learning the same lessons until you grow spiritually. You can learn and get the lessons and actually enjoy the process versus having to learn it in the school of hard knocks sometimes, because that's how we learn. So strategic encounters with God, wisdom, revelatory downloads, prophetic words, just being led and guided, basically in step with God, alignment, if you will. Okay, number 7. So yeah, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. So 7 is safe passage. So although I'm walking through this valley of the shadow of death, this really tough place, this wilderness, I have safe passage as I'm doing that. Like, it's not going to overtake me. And the next one, number 8, no fear of evil. So because I'm in this constant companionship, God's with me, I don't need to fear evil, because he that is with me is for me. He that is in me is greater than anything around me, right? Okay, number 9 is comfort. So thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. So again, this is where the correction and guidance come into play. We need both. When you think about parenting, if you are a parent, it's an act of love to not punish, but to course correct, right? To lovingly confront, to not let your child just run in a path of evil, right? Like, sometimes there is seasons, as we've seen with the prodigal son, where the father just lets him go and he lets him make his mistakes and learn, right? But his heart position is what's most interesting about that story. But at any rate, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. So if I'm going down a path that's going to lead to death or my destruction, I'm probably going to get some correction. Or if I need some feedback or just a reminder that God's there, that God's with me, there's this guidance, right? So that's super powerful. And then these last segments, thou preparest a table for me Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, and my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So this takes us through 10 through 14. So 10 is God is preparing a table for you, just blessings in the presence of your enemies. So, and anyone that was judging you, hating on you, shaming you, humiliating you, causing harm to you in some kind of way, threatening you, God will prepare a table for you in the presence of your enemies. 11, he'll anoint your head with oil. So this is promotion in a public way. When the time is right, the Lord will make it happen. So you've got to wait on, you could be anointed, for example, but you've got to wait for God's appointed time. Okay. It's not something that you facilitate. It's something that God does. Number 12, cup runneth over. My cup runneth over. So this is when you step into being a kingdom wealth generator, really, where God blesses you to be a blessing because he can trust you, because he knows that he can trust you to steward blessing and carry that well. So there's no longer these seasons of struggle and lack and just getting by and surviving, but you step into thriving, and that's a new constant for you. Okay, overflow. And then 13, confidence. So surely, like it's a sure thing, goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Not sometimes, not when I'm aware of it. They follow me all the days of my life. So that is this constant, consistent, ever-present God, right? He's not like man, he's consistent. And that's the greatest gift that you can have, is that constant stores of stability in your life that you can count on. And then number 14 is everlasting life. Surely I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So this is the assurance that you have that You're not working for God's approval. You're not trying to prove that if you do enough good works, God will love you. It's not like that. We might have been taught conditional love in the world, but God is unconditional. So the reason I was led to share this was because a lot of times when we're in situations of a long season of challenge or walking through a wilderness or having that sense of something's about to happen, like there's a sense of urgency around a shift into the next dimension, whenever that is happening, you've got just this conviction about it. You're not anxious. You've got a conviction about it. Maybe you even got prophetic words about it. A lot of times you're given those words because they are what help you stand firm in seasons of testing and in seasons of trial. And when you're walking through that season or those seasons, depending on how long it's been, Psalm 23 is so, so powerful because you can constantly remind yourself of at least 14 blessings that are promised to the sheep, to the lovers and followers of Jesus. So the message here, the encouragement would be, you don't have to accept things as they are, and you don't have to tolerate fear and negative thoughts and vain imaginations and overwhelm and stress. You don't have to tolerate that. God has actually given you tools. He's given you promises. He's given you ways to activate your faith. He's given you the word to see clearly, because clarity is power. And he's given you this as assurance, as a confident expectation of good. Jeremiah 29:11, he promises to give you a future and a hope. His plans are not for evil, right? And he who started a good work in you is faithful to complete it. So a lot of times you hear to do affirmations, but it's more powerful when you're actually getting words of God and declaring that over your life and constantly reinforcing that, because though the enemy comes in like a flood, the Lord raises a standard against him. And you are that standard. When you speak and declare a word, God's word cannot return void. So you don't have to just sit and take it, right? So what you can train yourself to do is to delight in the Lord, to have a daily practice, to seek him first, right? Those who seek him early and seek him first will surely find him, right? To seek him early, to have a daily practice, to have communion with God, to build relationship with God so you can experience that companionship for yourself, that leadership, that direction, that guidance, that correction even for yourself, right? Then you can also store up his word in your heart, because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So then when a circumstance comes to try to challenge that word, you speak the word at the situation and the mountain's got to move. So the very thing that tried to rise up against you, it's got to move, right? And Jesus is the perfect example of that. It is written, it is written, it is written. So all the lies, all the fears, all the things that tempted to get him off the path when he was in the wilderness, it is written, it is written, it is written. So he didn't just stand and take it. He used his authority and he spoke out of his mouth and made a declaration. And then you live according to these promises. So this is what you can encourage yourself in the Lord. That's this. Like, you literally find these words. God promised this. Thank you, God, that, right? And you start declaring, and it will activate faith. It will activate confidence. It will activate this sense of security and stability that you need to walk and keep moving forward and to really be diligent. The other thing that you can do too is make sure that you keep your armor on, that no piece of your armor is missing, because all the enemy needs is a foothold to start messing with you. So it's really important that you are aware of the armor that you have and that you are putting that on every day. All right. So I hope this message blessed you. If some other resources would be helpful, if you're new to developing your relationship with God, you can visit julianapage.com. There's a few books that really explain my journey of coming to know God and just experiencing him in a personal and in a real way, and just developing a relationship, which seems so awkward to somebody that didn't know what that even meant or if that was possible. There's also coaching resources. There's a self-mastery course and a lot of other great resources. So go check out julianapage.com. You can also, if you're driving in the car or commuting or cooking or whatever you're doing in your routine, going for a walk around the neighborhood, you can listen to the Spirit-Filled Real Talk podcast. It's on Spotify and the podcast app, Spirit-Filled Real Talk with Juliana. New episodes go up every Saturday, so that could be something that blesses you as well. All right, guys, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, and if this blessed you, copy the link and share with a friend.